Okay, it is Thursday, it is tactics, it is iconic tactics, it is Antonio Conte's 3-4-3. Now, before we get into today's video, what I'd like you to do is smash a like on today's video. So many people are downloading it either through Steam or through the links from FN Scout. Links to everything down below, by the way, so you can get your hands on this tactic. Really appreciate though if you smash a like. It gets it in the YouTube algorithm, and I'd also appreciate a subscribe as well. That would be lovely. Trying to get to 10k. Next week is this man, Xavi's Barcelona. Not this man's. I'm not manager of Barcelona. It's Xavi's Barcelona tactic. Been working on that. So, yeah, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing. All right, let's get into it. We're going to break it down on the tactics board to start with just a couple of little things that we're looking at. In particular, how to get that Kane Son movement in FM22. Let's go. Okay, right, here we are. Here is the 3-4-3. 3 centre-halves, 2 central midfielders, 2 wing-backs, 2 wide players, 2 inverted wide players, and obviously number 10 is Harry Kane. Now, the main thing that I'm wanting to try and focus on is the combinations between Harry Kane, Sonny, and then Kulusevski, which is on this right-hand side, and how to get it working in FM22. And I've eventually got it. We've had to change a few roles and stuff to get it working, but I'm quite happy with how it's looking. Now, if we look at the average positions from the 3-1 win against West Ham, as you can see, Reguilon is a lot higher. So it seems to be that Doherty has got his nudge. I think if Conte is going to strengthen next season, I think to give them a better attacking output, I think having a better, more attacking wing-back to go alongside Reguilon would be a really good addition. So I think that might be their priority. I'm not so sure with centre-half. I think they'll try and get another centre-half in. To be fair to Davis, has done okay. Eric Dyer is in great form, and Christian Romero is in great form as well. And obviously, Bentancur has made a massive impact at Spurs since signing in the January. And obviously, then you've got Højbjerg in here. So, in terms of structure and tactics, everything's pretty basic. There's not a lot of team instructions in today's video. They're not heavily reliant on pressing from the front. They just do pretty much a mid-block. There's not a lot of rotations in positions. A lot of stuff in this tactic is quite structured, quite rigid. Obviously, they counter very well, but they don't necessarily counter press. They play out from the back. It's not a Xavi or an Arteta or a Pep Guardiola where it's a like play out from the back at all costs. It's a little bit different. It relies heavily, obviously, on the front three. And obviously the wide player as well. If we look at as I said, the average position, again, Reguilon's position against West Ham just show that he's getting very wide and very high. Now, the main issue we've got, I think, is when Spurs play, is when they don't play well. It's normally because Harry Kane is very isolated here and doesn't get many touches on the ball. So what we want to try and create is that little bit of drop into space for him then to feed in a Son or a Kulusevski. That's what we're looking for. And then just a little bit of defensive structure. Now, the main thing I wanted to get out of the match engine was Harry Kane dropping into this area here and then literally just feeding balls into these spaces, either here or round through there, to either a Son, a Kulusevski, or even at certain points, a Reguilon as well. Now, the issue that we've got with Harry Kane sometimes is that he gets a little bit isolated. So I've done some personal player instructions for these 2 players here to ensure, number one, they go further, they go beyond, but at the same time, they're nice and close. And we don't want them out here. Their positions are a little bit narrow because when Spurs are defending, they often go into pretty much a 5-4-1 shape. So you've got your 5 here, your fullbacks drop in, and then what you'll often get is Kulusevski and Son just go in there to make that sort of like mid to low block. All right, but then when it's springed in, we want to see that movement of them two, and we also want to see Reguilon getting around the outside, and probably Doherty as well, offering a little bit of support. Now, the key, what we wanted, Spurs don't get counter-attacks very often, and that's mainly because of the base that they have. Obviously, Davis does look to move forward as a wide centre-half. Dyer kind of sits in the middle of the 3, and Romero, who's been in fantastic form, isn't much of a dribbler. He's brilliant from the back and a brilliant sort of like 1v1 defender, very tough, very strong, and doesn't mind going into these wide areas here to chase strikers. But what they've got is, at least, with Bentancur and Højbjerg, there's not much attacking play from these 2 midfielders. They basically just sit and often support behind the ball. Yes, Højbjerg does get forward occasionally, and I've got a little clip to show you his role, and it's still possible to do that despite being on a defender role. But generally just sitting there and stops getting counter-attacked. All right, so that is the main thing we're looking for. We're looking at high starting position from Reguilon. We're looking at Kane dropping into the hole, runners left and right of Kulusevski, and Son, sorry, and then that five, that really strong five of Højbjerg, Bentancur, Davies, who may be the one to leave that little box, but then it does leave four in a central position to make it really hard to stop. What we have is when the other team has got the ball as well, what we will see is, and what we want to see is wing-backs pressing really aggressively. They're often really aggressive in the press. As soon as it sort of like crosses the halfway line, the two wing-backs are in being really aggressive. Right, so here we are. Now, as I said, it's quite a basic tactic. There's not an over-reliant on team instructions. There's a few, obviously, player instructions, but nothing too sparkling. It isn't the greatest swashbuckling Spurs attacking flair. However, at the moment, it's very functional and very effective. So, sweeper, keeper, on support, we've got Lloris. In the middle of the back three, we've got Eric Dyer. Ball-playing defender on cover, no player instructions. Ball-playing defender on stopper is Romero. We're asking him to tackle harder and mark tighter just because of his natural role. He does often go into these areas. I think it was Jack Grealish he was giving a bit of a kick in. I saw him booting someone else. It was Ronaldo and a couple of other players in the Manchester United game a week ago as well. So yeah, he'll go into those areas. On the left-hand side, we've got Davies. Obviously, he's more suited as a left-back, so he does drive. We want to see him driving into these areas a little bit more. We've got that occasionally from him. It's actually the first time that I've used a wide centre-half, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Wing-back on attack, we've got the sort of like the Reguilon role, the left-hand side. We've got stay wider. Well, that is absolutely key because we're after Sonny in particular to get closer to Kane. We need the wide wing-back to stay wider and then tackle harder and mark tighter because when that ball goes, as I said, we showed at the tactic board, when the ball goes into these wide areas with wingers, we want them to come out and press really aggressively. And then all Spurs will do is generally, if we just bring Davies back, the team will just shuffle round and shuffle in, so he's got cover there, so he can afford to be a little bit aggressive. All right, so that's what we're after with that instruction. Now, the midfield too was an interesting one. We've toyed with box to box and ball winner. For what we've done with Højbjerg, we've just gone with central midfielder on defend. Now he does try kill a ball often. I haven't seen that much in Spurs, to be honest. The bits that I've watched him over the last few weeks. But anyway, I'm asking him just to sit in there, dribble less, tackle harder, mark tighter. The deep line playmaker is normally the Bentancur role. He's very good physically. I think he's like 6'2", so having him in there as a deep line playmaker on spot. We don't necessarily want him to just play pretty passes, so we've got tackle harder, mark tighter, use his physicality in that too. I think there is a big gap and there's a lot of ground potentially to cover. So what we're asking our wide players to do, now this is the hardest one that I've had to get going. Getting Harry Kane's movement's been easy. What we've struggled a little bit with was Son and Kulusevski's forward runs. Now, inverted wingers didn't work. I think if you were setting up this tactic to start off with, you'd probably go with inverted wingers, but I just haven't had that dynamic run. You know, Kulusevski's run against Manchester City is the one that sticks out in my head, and we're regularly expecting Son to get on the end of Kane's sort of like passes when he drops into sort of like these areas. So, inside forwards, both sitting narrow. We've got Sonny. The only difference, we've got him shoot more often because it's Sonny and he cuts in and he's always shooting. So that's why we've got that. Hopefully then them coming in narrow works closer to Harry Kane so he's not as isolated, and then it obviously allows the wide players to get round the outside, in particular regular on the left-hand side. And then up front, Harry Kane, deep line forward and spot. I tried false nine and I didn't like it. It didn't do what I wanted it to do. He didn't hold the ball up. Harry Kane's brilliant at holding the ball up, getting his ass in front of the defenders, winning free kicks. So we want to see a little bit of that. But we've added more direct passes, shoot more often and run from position. Because he works channels a little bit still. But what we want is him getting in here, and we want those direct passes, those 30, 40-yard switches of play or pass or threaded passes in between the fullbacks and the centre-halves for these boys, Sonny and Kulusevski, to move on to. And then obviously shoot more often because he shoots all the bloody time, doesn't he? All right, there is the player instructions. There is the shape. Mentality, we've gone with positive. Now, because it's Conte, I think you can go through times. We struggled in a game against Brighton that we actually got beaten in the Premier League. And we ended up going with attacking just to try and get a little bit more urgency. I think depending on how the game's going, I think you'll swap between cautious, positive and attacking, even defensive, just to close up shop. Conte does like to close up shop at times, so there you go. I would definitely change in between them. In possession, we've got wide attacking width. We are passing into space. We've got an overlap on the right. We're just trying to force that a little bit more. We're just trying to force that a little bit more. We did have an underlap on here, but it didn't work. I was hoping Davies would get into those and Sonny runs. It wasn't working, so I've just taken that off. We don't need overlap on that left-hand side because Reguilon does that all the time, being on attack, but we're just trying to encourage Doherty to do it a little bit more. Even a Kulusevski, when Kane gets them, we do see them overlapping runs from Kulusevski a lot. So that's just to encourage that a little bit. We're going with low crosses, loads of low crosses into the box, far post. Harry Kane sweeping home at the near post, Sonny sweeping home at the near post, or even tapping in at the back post. Passing directness, slightly shorter. They don't have a particular style with the ball. It's quite rigid, it's quite, plain. So we're just going with slightly shorter, with slightly higher tempo. In transition, we're looking for Lloris to roll it out to the centre halves. We've not got counter press on because there's not a lot of that when they lose the ball. Counter attacking because that's their main threat, when Kane can pick up the ball from the defenders on the halfway line and then he turns and plays in one of the wide players. And then out of possession, we've got a standard line of engagement, nothing flash, a little bit more of a trigger press as well. Get stuck in. I want Bentancur in particular and Højbjerg to really get stuck in that middle midfield. You've also got players like Dyer, Romero, Harry Kane like to tackle every now and again, so there's plenty of players there to really work hard and get stuck in. And then forced opposition out wide. Now, normally you would say you'd on a 3-5-2 because of all the 3-4-3, you've got all the players in the middle. But what Spurs do is they bring in Sonny, they bring in Kulusevski, they bring him in nice and tight, and as I said, they try and force that ball out to the wide areas, and that's when then the wing backs sort of like engage and really go press and be aggressive. You see so many tackles from Reguilon often gets booked by having 2, 3, 4 sort of like mistimed tackles, then he racks up 2 or 3 tackles before he gets a booking. On to the opposition instructions. We have never pressing the goalkeeper. We have got the wide areas trigger press. So all the people that could potentially play as wide boys in terms of midfielders, wing backs, midfielders, attacking right and left. We're tackling harder as well because that's what imagine what the fullbacks are kind of doing, the wing backs, sorry. Tighter marking as well because we want Reguilon and Doherty, the 2 wing backs, to be really aggressive in there, but they need to be closer for it enable to that to work. There's no point having a trigger press on and then having the Reguilon and Doherty or whoever the wing backs are who are having then to travel 20 yards to the ball. All right, so we want them really in the faces of those wide players. And then the striker central, we've got Mark tighter, tackling harder. And what I would do is sometimes I get Christian Romero to do that job. He likes to sort of like go 1v1 with a centre forward and really engage in the tackle. So that's what I would do. It allows maybe Davies then to get on that left hand side a little bit. It also allows Eric Dyer just to drop off to start play when they get the ball. All right, those are all the instructions. Those are the tactics. Let me know what you think down below if there's any tweaks you would make. As I said, I've tried to get it as realistic as we possibly can to get it working in the match engine. What we are going to do now, we're going to check out the match engine and just see how I've managed to get Harry Kane absolutely purring. Right, and here we are. So, first of all, a lot of this focus is on the front three. As I said, there's not much in terms of what the defenders do and what the midfielders do and the wide players. Obviously, we're going to see a little bit of regular action. But in terms of the play, it's what we're wanting to see. We're wanting Harry Kane getting in that hole and spreading passes. So here we are. We actually went 2-0 down against Everton and turned it round. Ended up playing really well. There is Harry Kane. There's quite patient. There is Davies in a nice wide area. You've got your 2 central midfielders very, very close together, which is what they're used to. And then Højbjerg into Kane. Kane on the half turn. Allen struggling, the defensive midfielder. And then Kulusevski's starting actually quite wide. But then he comes in narrow, We don't want him out here. We want to leave that space for potentially Doherty to get in. And then Kulusevski's on the inside, on the outside. Getting a typical football manager cross. Decent strike from Harry Kane in the end. But there you go. Just that movement of Harry Kane and then releasing that pass that we want to see. All right, the next little highlight is just from the goal. Our first goal against Everton. Harry Kane, where is he? Is he here? He's there. He ends up getting on the score sheet. So it's quite patient build-up. It's nothing flash. But then when obviously Harry Kane gets on the ball, it comes into life. Now, because we've got Sonny sitting narrower, it sucks the fullback quite in. And then if you've got a winger who's not quite engaged in defending, maybe attacking left, attacking right, it does allow that wing-back who is on attack to really get in. So Harry Kane just switches the ball out wide. Reguilon gets in. Cross. Headed back from Kuleveski, getting that back first, being an inside forward, and Harry Kane starting the move pretty much, clicking it into gear, and then still getting in the box. I think that's really good, really important to notice that the deep line forward is just what Harry Kane does. He comes off deep, he'll spin a ball in behind, but then he gets himself in the penalty area because he wants to score goals. Right, and here we go again. The equaliser, we work it quite nicely. There is Son sitting quite narrow. He's key. Kane scores again, but Son is very keen to this goal. And also the little bit of movement. There's Davies, the left back. As you can see, the wide centre-half is on his way. He's going to get involved. I don't know if he actually touches the ball or not. I don't think he does. We've sucked him in though. Son sucked the play in again because that allows Reguilon out wide to have so much time and space. Sonny getting in. I did notice the games. I've been watching Tottenham closely over the last few weeks against Manchester United and West Ham. So the idea is that he was getting in and around these penalty box areas so he could potentially get a shot off. He holds. Look at Ben Davies, the wide centre-half, getting right involved. We did see Ben Davies actually scored a goal against Manchester United. It was offside, wasn't it? But that long run that he made from the back. He sets up Sonny, cross, a shot, rebound, Harry Kane, poacher. Not a poacher, but deep line forward once again, getting in. But the movement of Sonny, that sit narrow instruction, absolutely vital. Right, a little bit of build-up play, we get it. So there is Bergwijn now. He's doing the Son role, as you can see. There's the difference in the wing-backs. Obviously, the ball is on this left-hand side, but look at Reguilon proper going for it. Davies moving the ball forward. There's Harry Kane. Bergwijn ahead of him. Kuleveski's on his move as well. Bergwijn brings it down, brings in Harry Kane, and look at this pass again from Harry Kane. Reverse pass. Sonny is an inside forward, sitting narrow. I think that instruction is absolutely key, to be fair. Bergwijn should have absolutely buried it. He didn't, but in the end we managed to nick all 3 points. And then here we go. Typical, once again, Harry Kane movement. We've got that box. We said that box, didn't we? Potentially a 5 when Davies involved, but we've always got that 4 protecting the middle of the pitch to really stop these counter-attacks from central areas. So there you go. Kane dropping in, plays a lovely spin into Kuleveski. Kuleveski gets down the line. Then look at Harry Kane. Deep line forward on support. It's not an attack, it's on support, but he's getting in because he wants to score goals. We racked up 3 consecutive 1-0 wins. So as you can see, it's kind of Conte style. Not amazing, but what we are, because we've got the players at the top end, we create really good, clear chances. So we might only have 7, 8, 9 shots in the game, but our XG is normally better than our opponent because we're creating really good opportunities when we do get forward. And here we go again. Kuleveski is going to be the eventual goal scorer. He does get these chances at this back stick. Once again, Reguilon, the movement. It's pretty standard. It's the same movement. You've got your box. The midfielder's not necessarily getting high. Kane dropping in. Playing in Sonny, who's coming a little bit narrow. That gives Reguilon the opportunity to really get forward. It's a nice little overlap round the outside. And then Reguilon fires across, and there's Kuleveski, who's not really been involved a lot of the play comes down the left-hand side. But the key thing there with that Kuleveski, I think because he's an inside forward on attack, it just allows him to get in right into that penalty area, right into that 6-yard box. Now, our only blip on the card has come against Brighton. Now, they did score a worldie from Basuma, a header from a corner and a penalty. But even though the goals could have been avoidable at the same time, they absolutely battered us in terms of XG and stuff. So I just thought I'd show you this goal anyway. I think it's Lucas Moura who's on the left-hand side. Quite patient in build-up. So Romero picks it up. Goes all the way back. I said we're quite patient. There's nothing amazing. There's nothing sort of like spectacular. We've got the 2 sat in front of the 3 again. Kuleveski coming in narrow. Kane working his magic. Doherty with the overlapping run this time and putting a lovely ball. And Doherty has really improved over the last few weeks as well. Putting a lovely ball for Lucas Moura on that far side. But we responded pretty well. We've picked up a 1-0 win at West Ham to finish it off. It was a sole goal from Harry Kane. As you can see there, West Ham 12 shots, XG of 0.87. We've done it with, we've just edged it with 1.05, but with 3 less efforts. And once again, it's all about the movement of Harry Kane. So he comes out, Winks is involved. I think he's playing as a deep line forward, deep line playmaker, should I say. We've got the opportunity to Sessegnon, cross. Comes back out. Davies getting involved, being aggressive. Now look at Højbjerg. You do occasionally get that little Højbjerg run, and I think we get it in this. If we just run it back There is Højbjerg. So look, he's got into the penalty area. There's central midfielder, because you occasionally get that. You see Højbjerg, he often makes those darting runs, maybe running too fast with the ball. He's not great in front of goal, but there you go. He does get in at some points, not very often, but some points, and the ball just actually comes back out. Davis, I think, as a wide centre-half, is a little bit higher up the pitch, so he gets to keep the play going, recycles possession, and then the low cross, lovely cross for Harry Kane to tap home, getting offside. It was marginal offside, but we took it and we got big 3 points in the London derby. Alright guys, that is it. It's a pretty simple tactic. Now, as I said, it's not going to be one of these insane 3.5 goals per game. We scored 100 goals and 100 points. It may get you 100 points. It will not score you 100 goals. I'm going to try it with my Burnley side. I've been creating a Burnley 3-4-3 in my Twitch save, by the way. Link to my Twitch down below. Go check out the Twitch. We stream every Saturday night, 9:30. We're just about to start season 2. We've signed some brilliant players, and we said we'd work with a 3-4-3, and I'm going to put this tactic into Burnley and see how we get on live this Saturday. Now, as I said, I think lower teams struggling to control games. You've got a real good opportunity to stop counter-attacks as well with that structure of the 3 and the 2. You need a deep line forward with good vision. That's what you need, with pace, with them 2 wide players. And I think this tactic is good to go at any level, especially games away from home. If you want to shut up shop a little bit, but want to have that little bit of killer instinct on the break, another good tactic to go to. It's not over. It's not a gegenpress, so your players are going to be generally quite fit. I think the thing I've struggled with Spurs is so far, we've had to play in that bloody Europa Conference League, and that's kind of meant I've had to rotate more than what we would have done. There you go. As you can see, the pass map from the last game as well. Sonny quite narrow. Look at the left wing back getting really high. Davies further forward than the other 2, which we expect. Loads of passes going into Bentancur as well. Harry Kane not as active. He doesn't take a great deal of touches, but then when he does play, his touches are normally absolute key. Brilliant passes, assists to get them balls in those wide areas. All right, guys, that is it. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you smash a like on today's video. That would be absolutely lovely. Subscribe for more FM22 content. As I said, we are going with Xavi's tiki-taka Barcelona tactic next week. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. See you later.